Hello and welcome back to the Paper Soprano podcast. I am your host, Heidi Schneider, and today has been quite a day. I actually just got back to the apartment here, and man, it must, it must be like 20 degrees out. It is freezing, but it's beautiful out. Like, it's so crazy. The past so many days have been just like rainy and dark and sad. And then, like, the one day that it's absolutely brilliant and sunny out is like, oh my God, it's so cold. I feel like I'm in Buffalo again. Um, yeah. And for any of you guys who are like, oh my God, you live in Long Island now, so you like don't you don't even know how to like handle the cold anymore. You're right. You're correct. That is correct. I really literally don't. It is seriously such a thing that you just get used to for so many years, and then all of a sudden when you don't have to deal with it, you're like, "Oh, so I don't have to be uncomfortable all the time? Like for 8 months out of the year, I don't have to be freezing?" Like, oh my God, dude. It is it is life-changing. And also, you know, it's also it's nostalgic. So when I feel very cold like this, it does remind me of my youth. So there's that. But anyway, so I was actually at work. I work on campus at Stony Brook. I was at work for a couple hours longer than I intended to be today because of technology and Zoom problems, because I have a class and I had to give a presentation and my little laptop can't handle it. So basically, I have this little laptop that is relatively new, and I just got it, but it doesn't have a ton, not just got it, maybe 2 Christmases ago, I think. Anyway, so it doesn't have a huge processing, ability. So she's had some issues, and I now, of course, with all of this new technology demand on me as a grad student, um, I basically have to put all of those demands on my poor little computer, which has the processing capacity of a literal potato, and it is doing its best. But the one thing that I know it cannot do is I know that it cannot handle screen sharing on Zoom. I've done it before twice, and it's just a combination of like the Wi Fi and like the audio, and it just gets so incredibly slow. And like the computer is slow itself, like just opening up a browser. So, like, trying to stream audio and like I don't know. I know nothing about technology, but I know that this computer can't really handle screen sharing. So, my solution for that was, oh, I'm savvy, I'm smart, I'm going to think ahead, and I'm going to stay in my office and use the desktop that is in the office, and I'm going to go on that computer. But the thing is, with that desktop, it's a Stony Brook desktop and it's a Dell. It's like real old. You know what it looks like, those big giant black monitors, and just a classic tower attached. And it doesn't have a microphone input, and it also doesn't have a camera. So basically, the only thing that it can do is output um, audio. Also, do not come for me. I don't know if these words that I'm saying are actual words. Like, I think all it can do is output audio, because all that happens when I go on a Zoom call on that computer is that I hear what other people are saying. And in order to combat that, I was like, "Oh yeah, no problem." So what's going to happen is I'm going to put the screen sharing on the desktop, right? The old desktop is going to be great cuz it's really quick. It's connected to Ethernet, so it's a real quick internet connection. And then I'll just use my phone on the Wi-Fi and I will stream my face. So when I give my presentation, then I can just, do that. It'll be fine. So I'm doing that. I'm cruising along. It's great. And then all of a sudden I come to the point in my presentation where I have to share my screen. And I'm like, okay, yeah, guys. So I'm on two devices. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. And and I go and I try to share the screen, but I also didn't take into account the fact that my screen share required audio. So I was trying to play a video, like play a clip from an opera, and it was not working. Like, because obviously you can't share audio and, oh, hello, dogs barking. You can't share audio if there's no microphone on your computer. I didn't know that that was the case. I had no idea that, like, the sharing comes from, like, the microphone. I don't know. So anyway, I'm panicking, right? As you do. Oh, great. We've got some doggy friends coming. But so basically, I'm panicking, right? I'm in the middle of a presentation. I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I kept accidentally turning on both audios at once, so it was like echoey and all weird and lots of feedback and terrible. And then I was like, I'm really sorry, you guys. And my professor was so nice about it. He was like, it's okay. Like, and I'm like, is it? Really though? Is it? Because I don't think it is. And I'm I'm struggling. I'm trying to figure everything out. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second. I know you can call into um Zoom calls, obviously, so you can call. So I pick up the desktop landline, which is just like a literal landline that sits on the desk in the office that I work in. And I'm like feverishly punching in these numbers, like, and it's like, please enter your participant number followed by the pound sign. And I'm like trying so hard, like freaking out. And finally I get in after like what seems like forever. And oh my god, these dogs. But so I finally get in and I take the phone and I put the bottom receiver where you would speak into up against the speaker that the desktop has, so that the audio that can play out of the desktop is now going into the phone, and I'm sitting there like holding it, and it worked out in the end. But it's so funny to me how you first of all, that you can plan all you want and be as prepared as you think you are, and then, you know, sometimes things just they go unnoticed, or you completely forget that that's going to be a factor, and you don't really know what's going to happen until you're in the middle of it. But also, secondly, it's so funny to me that, like, while these things are so technologically advanced, like Zoom calls and blah blah blah, like streaming and video conferencing, it's so funny to me that you can just call in on to a Zoom call from a landline. You know what I mean? Like, when's the last time you picked up a landline? Because the only time I ever even witness a landline is at my office, and I don't even, you know, it's very seldom that that phone rings. And if it is, it's my boss or someone who's also on the campus. Like, it is just so funny to me that we are me. I'm struggling with all this technology, yet at the same time, here I am, the landline is what saves the day. And it was fine. It was fine. And I'm glad that the presentation went well. Aside from that, I felt good about it. I have a weird relationship with presenting, like oral presentations. So many people are very against giving presentations. It's I go back and forth about it. I don't dislike it. I don't like it by any means, but I kind of do enjoy the security of just being able to like write out a big long script for myself. You know what I mean? And having the freedom to write it in the way that I would speak. Not having to write it in this big like not putting on any airs about writing this and not putting on any, doctoral hats about it. I'm just writing and I'm just speaking, but I think that's one of the big things that I've learned from this professor in this semester and, in past semesters as well. But writing out your script for a presentation, oh God, it's a game changer. And not like bullet points. Like literally every single word that you will say, you write it down, but you speak it out loud and it doesn't sound like, it doesn't sound contrived. It doesn't sound strange. It flows and it's your speech patterns. And I think it's a really freeing way to write because, you're sitting there and you're like, "Oh my God, I sound like an idiot trying to speak this way, blah blah blah." Just start writing as if you were talking or like speak into your phone and record yourself and then you can go from there. I think that's a huge thing that people should take advantage of. You know what I mean? And you can always edit and you can always change your wording and whatever, but I think the closer that you can get it to organic sounding speech for you personally, the better you're going to feel about reading it, and also the better it's going to sound on you, the better you're going to articulate what you're saying, and you're not going to like flub over the words or anything or add a bunch of ums or uhs, which I am a notorious offender of. So it's really empowering sometimes, and I think not a lot of, I don't really know about other fields, but if you're in other fields, do your professors tell you to do that? When you do presentations, and by other fields, I mean non-music fields, because I know a lot of music fields preach that in a way. But when you're in other fields, like if you're in the sciences or math or, any of those other fields, do your professors tell you to write out a script for yourself? If you have to give an oral presentation. I don't even know how prevalent oral presentations are in other fields. So we could just be talking about a whole lot of nothing. But yeah, man, it's kind of, we're lucky, and by we I mean like musicians. I feel like we're lucky because so much of writing and so much of speaking is, we're I don't want to say we're excited about it because I'm sure people in other fields are excited about what they're doing, but it is really thought-provoking stuff, and there's a lot to argue. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that could go either way, and then another way, and then another way. Like, there's a lot of, like, gray area. Like, the whole thing is pretty much gray area, which is really an interesting concept. You're able to really just, obviously you have to have the stuff to back it up. You can't just say things and say your opinion about it. You have to really have some kind of foundational knowledge to make claims. But then once you have that foundational knowledge, or you have some kind of specific input on something, it's really a fun time, Like, and I know I probably sound like such a loser, but it is. It's fun to talk about this kind of stuff. When you're talking about Mozart, or you're talking about performance practices and current events, like specific things that are happening in the opera world and specific things that are happening, in X, Y, or Z interpretation of this piece, or so-and-so company just did it this way, and that's a really provocative thing, and I don't know, what kind of influence is that going to have on the generations who see it, and, I want to read you a quote really quick that just reminded me. So this quote it struck me as a really interesting thing, and I find it just very thought-provoking. So here it is. This is from Edward Cohn's Musical Form and Musical Performance, and the quote is, "The space arts are fortunate since they are fixed and unchanging. The time arts, which would include drama and all other forms of literature as well as music, are subject to readings, performances, interpretations, all of which distort the true essence of the work of art." And that last little phrase, that all of which distort the essence of the work, the true essence of the work of art. It's provoking because, what is the true essence of the work of art? What is that, and why is that an important thing? Are we not supposed to question what the essence of a true work of art is? Or is it like really a fixed thing? Are all of these things that were happening, does time just completely destroy pieces of art if performances and different interpretations are destroying that essence? But then again, when things are created, they do have a certain essence, they do have a certain purpose, I guess you would say. But who's to say that purpose isn't to be a fluid, continuous thing? When someone creates something, do they want it to just exist for their own generation, and then when they die, don't do it anymore because 500 years from now they're not going to get it, so just throw it out when I'm done. So it's interesting to go back and forth about the true, quote, true essence of something. And my professor today said something to me that I thought was really interesting, because I was talking about, the composer's intentions, Mozart's intentions, when he was writing the piece that I'm talking about, Die Entführung aus dem Serail. My professor was saying, it is really hard to know his intentions. And I was like, yeah, right? Like, what the heck? I feel like it's so, we can 100% go back and forth about, his socioeconomic status and his life and his religion and his, his Freemasonry and his feminism in his writing and his all of these really provocative ideas. But in reality, we are all just speculating. Some speculations have grounds to stand on, for sure. And we can look at Mozart's letters to his father. We can look at his, directly written program notes, or, his absolute, his things that he wrote directly. But even then, we're just still interpreting his thoughts. And it is seriously so hard to know his intentions with the art that he created, because it is so dense. And my professor also said something that was really excellent, in saying there's a point at which we get to where we as listeners, we as scholars, we just sit there and we're just in awe of it, because it is so dense and it is so, it is so unbelievably rich with questions. And for someone who's not necessarily into this kind of dissection, they just want to see the art as, I just want to listen to the music or whatever. That kind of takes away from it, in my opinion. It is nice to see the tip of the iceberg, but it is so insane to know that it is attached to so much more. And once you start looking at it, you're never going to look at the tip of the iceberg the same way again. That'll be a crazy experience. You can't just not acknowledge the fact that there's so much more to Mozart operas than meets the ear. Because there really is. It's about politics. It's about religion. It's about, people, it's about racism, it's about sexuality, it's about magic, it's about, mystery and deceit and betrayal, like all of those good things. So, it is very exciting to be able to write a paper and have the freedom that my professor is giving us about the topics that we're able to choose from. Like, it is just, it's fun, and that's why I'm here. Because I love school. I'm just kidding. I mean, I do love school. It's very fun. But I don't necessarily love school as much as I love talking to others and having these kinds of conversations about things. It's really what it's all about, and it's a shame that we in this class that I was in this semester, it's a shame that we were online, mainly because I feel like it was so strange to have real full-fledged conversations for a seminar of like less than 10 people. So we were all just kind of staring at each other, and sometimes it would be weird because there's just a different atmosphere on Zoom. Have you experienced this? Like, even if you're talking to your friends or like your family, or if you have classes on Zoom, you'll totally understand this. But there's just this weird other atmosphere. And it's this weird thing that happens where you just kind of are staring at yourself the whole time. You're worried about what you look like. You're watching your movements, and everybody else, that they're watching themselves. Like, and it's everybody's just kind of in their own little bubble. There's no real socialization happening. You know what I mean? Like, we are talking, yes, but it's not like, I don't know. It sounds weird the way I'm trying to word it, but I feel like the interaction itself is like fake. And the whole of the interaction is not what we're supposed to do. You know what I mean? Body language and real eye contact and just like being in the presence of somebody else says so much. You know what I mean? When you're having an interaction with someone, even if it's very brief and you don't really know them, you can learn so much just from like their being. And it is super weird. Super weird. And I'm not shaming you if you do this, but it is super weird when people just decide to turn their cameras off during a Zoom meeting. And like, we're supposed to all be here together. Like, imagine if somebody in a class of like less than 10 people decided to just like put a box over their head with a picture of themselves on the front and was like, I'm still here and I'm listening, but I don't want you to look at me. And I do it too. Like, I'm not trying to say it in a bad way. It's just such a weird thing that we've never had to interact with before, What a strange, bizarre thing. And also, what a strange, bizarre thing that somebody would be like looking around in your personal space and like looking in your room or looking in your living room or wherever you have your office set up. I can totally understand why you wouldn't want to have your camera on. It's a very weird, invasive thing. So, moral of the story is, Zoom is the worst, and I cannot wait to not have to deal with it anymore. So, we're gonna have to just continue on for, I don't know how much longer this is gonna be for academia, but we will see. So, but it was an interesting time having a class online. I will never forget those emotions, and my neck pain will probably be with me for at least the foreseeable future from all of my computer work. But we just keep on keeping on. And tomorrow on the pod, I would like to prompt you, get pumped for the fact that we have another guest. And I'm not going to disclose who it is just yet because we are going to we're going to do that tomorrow, and it's going to be really awesome, and I can't wait to talk to our guest host. And again, if you ever want to be on the pod, girl, you ever want to try and have a chat, you know where to find me. Okay? You just let me know. And we've already got some people lined up, but you are like next in line. Okay? You gotta come to me though. I'm not gonna ask you to be on the pod. That would be weird. Probably wouldn't be that weird, but like, you gotta come to me. I want to know that you wanna be on the pod, and then you just drop me a hint, and then you're on, like literally. So yeah, it'll be fun. Tomorrow we'll have a nice little chat, and we'll just keep on living our lives, you guys, in this cold December life of ours right now. Oh man. So anyway, I hope you all have an excellent day, whatever you're doing right now, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening, or night. I hope that you're enjoying it and that you can do something for yourself today and tackle something that you've been putting off or that you have not had the motivation to do. I hope you find it. And yeah, man, keep on going. All right, you guys, thanks so much for listening to the podcast. If you like it, please like this video, and please support the podcast by sharing it or telling somebody else about it. And I can't wait to talk to you tomorrow. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.